After playing a fuck ton last night on the new update patch 0.9.2, I have to say I've got mixed feelings on this one. There are 5 big changes which I'll be going over in this video one by one and commenting on the impact I noticed in game. Number 1, AI spawn counts change based on the day. This seemed like a meh, just ignore it change when I first read the notes, as I wasn't really sure what it meant. But when I jumped in game, I saw it was actually a significant change. On both the approach and the summit, the Nitro is now more heavily defended by AI-controlled predators, wolves and bears, which despawn as the days go on. On the approach, there are now 2 extra wolves on both paths up to Nitro on day 1, for a maximum of 8 wolves on both sides. 1 wolf is removed each day, and on the day of Blizzard, only 5 wolves remain. On the summit, there's a more noticeable change. There are now 2 new polar bears defending Nitro, literally on top of where the Nitro spawns, deep inside the cave. Yes, you heard me correctly. However, each day, a polar bear is removed from the cave. And by the last day, only the 1 original polar bear halfway up the slope to Nitro remains, with the one at the top of the summit also disappearing. This has a couple of serious impacts on the game. Nitro seems to no longer be able to be rushed by crewmates. Thralls will have a very difficult time setting up Nitro traps before the last couple of days, as despite their ability to bone dagger away, I can't see any practical way to kill all the polar bears, as it doesn't seem to be possible to get your hands on a Nitro to begin with so that you can blow them up. It might be possible to draw out the polar bears, bone dagger back, pick up a Nitro and so on, but it's speculation at the moment and I will be testing that out as the patch continues. The increased wolf counts on day 1 and 2 makes rushing Nitro on the approach much more difficult as well, and will likely reward a patient crew. All in all, the game effectively becomes easier the longer it goes, with less AI spawned into the game on the day of Blizzard. Seeing that an experienced crew tend to reach the end of the approach map much faster than on the summit, the increased spawns will likely slow down the crew's ability to reach the Nitro camp, giving Thralls more time to prepare. But are these changes good for the game? In short, I don't love it. Fixing the Nitro rush strategy by overloading the Nitro's location with AI predators simply removes the problematic strategy and a bunch of options for Thralls too. I'm not in favor of fixing strategies that cause an imbalance in the game by simply not making them possible. I'd far prefer a new mechanic be introduced to combat the problem, which would have been a far more interesting approach to solving the problem. Removing strategies only reduces options for how players choose to play the game, and as someone who loves to push the bounds of what's possible to pull off in the game, it feels like a restrictive solution. That being said, I will be spending a lot of time in solo games trying to work out if there's a way to deal with the extra polar bears early on as Thrall without dying to get my hands on a Nitro early in the game. It might still be possible. It's really too early to tell, though I expect anything I do come up with will be difficult to replicate in an actual match against competent players. Anyway, on to the second change. Cannibals have been somewhat reworked. To be exact, cannibals now do less damage, have less health, but more cannibals will spawn overall. The intent of the change was to be more of a nuisance that slowed down the crew than simply used to snipe crewmates to kill them when they're alone, and they definitely achieved this goal. The cannibals do something like 5 damage each swing, down from about 20, and whilst there are more of them, they aren't any real threat to the crew. As such, I dare to say the change has had the opposite effect, where crewmates don't seem to need to prepare for cannibals nearly as rigorously as they had previously. So exactly how many cannibals will spawn when the ability is used? Well, each tier of the Thrall power charge has increased the amount of cannibals by 1. So level 1 cannibals will spawn 4 cannibals. Level 2 spawns 6, and level 3 spawns 8 cannibals. So in theory, if both Thralls use the Cannibal ability, they could send 16 Cannibals onto a player. But they're really a shell of what they used to be. An experienced player should really have no issues dealing with them. More Cannibals makes bear traps less important to craft, and is an indirect buff to melee weapons. Though the big four, the axe, saber, ice pick, and spade, still require 3 hits to kill a cannibal. But seeing that you're taking less damage overall, you can take out a bunch of cannibals using the AoE of the melee weapon without taking too much damage. Building one good melee weapon will save you the need to prepare 5 to 10 bear traps. Cannibals will definitely disrupt and cause chaos for a short time in this update, but I expect far less players will be dying to cannibals overall. These changes have been made with the right idea at heart, and I'm happy they're fixing the quality of life in Dreadhunger. No one liked dying to cannibals, and it was a shit way to go, especially with their tendency to be glitchy and their bullshit rock throwing move. So, when I first read these changes, I was very excited. But there is a downside which I need to talk about, and that is that Thralls were barely calling cannibals at all in the matches I played last night. It's only day 1, so I might be looking far too much into this, but if cannibals are perceived as too weak, we'll be seeing far more whiteouts. And I doubt anyone wants matches where one Thrall after the other only uses whiteouts and the game is just one big clusterfuck as players try to work their way back to the ship through whiteouts, freeze to death, and just try to get things done with severely limited vision. Cannibals might be used to provide a food source for the Thrall, a sort of Uber Eats if you will, but they no longer provide the map-wide pressure they did before to cripple a specific player at any given time. They're not the threat they used to be, and I'm concerned how this will impact the way crewmates play, and how it will change the efficiency of crewmates who run off to grab coal far from the ship. Number 3. The bow has been buffed, with its damage being increased to 19, up from 17. This might seem like a small buff, but it has large implications. With the decrease in health for cannibals, it's about 35 health now, the bow once again two-shots cannibals. It makes the bow a must-make for any crew who choose to push far away from the ship, and makes the hunter a very desirable starting class. The bow being buffed also decreases the need to make a pistol. With the bow effectively being the best weapon in the game pre-muskets, I expect we'll be seeing far more bows being crafted. Now, I'm an avid bow user, through the highs and the lows, but I'm not a fan of more bows being in the game. More bows means less iron scrap for each player, as players compete to craft arrows. I really liked the identity of the bow being an option for crew, more or less an agile version of the gun. It's probably my bias talking, but I'd prefer the bow be left as it was so it wasn't quite as strong in PvP as the pistol. And players had to make a tough choice each match depending on how they planned on playing the match out when it came to deciding what ranged weapon they were going to craft. Number 4 is a change to the Thrall spell charge curve. Now, Thralls charge up their power over time, which allows them to use their Bone Dagger to cast spells. Previously, totems capped at 7, so that any totems made by Thralls after the 7th did not increase how quickly your power recharged, but acted as spares should any be destroyed, a sort of protection, if you will. In patch 0.9.2, the totem's power effect cap count has been increased to 10, making every totem made before the max of 10 worth less than it was previously. It makes Thrall games more difficult, trying to source more bones. It's time consuming to set the totems up, and the crew will notice if you're away for too long. The change provides a new challenge for Thralls to conquer, and I'm excited to work my way through it. I expect the temptation to make the extra 3 totems will be just that, tempting, and players will need to judge if it's worth setting them up on a game-by-game basis. I expect this change will result in less Thrall spells being used overall, but will reward Thralls who are able to get those totems up safely. Less spells means less problems for crew, which increases the importance to sabotage the boiler or stall the ship in other ways. It'll be interesting to see how players adapt their playstyles with this change in mind. Finally, number 5. Coal harvesting has been increased to take 8 seconds, up from about 4. This is probably my favorite change from the update, having a direct impact on the effectiveness of the run ahead and destroy coal Thrall strategy. It now takes twice as long as before to perform this strat, as the Thrall is spending twice as long searching each and every coal sled they're trying to destroy. This should give the crew far more time to realize what the Thrall is doing, catch up, and put a stop to it, hopefully saving some coal. This change also makes getting the passive Thrall achievement more difficult, a challenge I'm more than excited to tackle head on. The increase to coal harvest rate also slows down the crew, giving Thralls more time, assuming they're not rushing ahead to destroy coal, and instead opting to play in a more traditional, deceptive manner. There are a few other small changes listed on the Discord, but they're either minor fixes or tweaks to scoring events. All in all, I'm happy to see changes are being made and the community are being listened to. The changes aren't without their flaws, but that's a part of the process to make the game as perfect as possible before full release. I'd love to hear what you all think of the update, so please comment below with your thoughts on the patch. Thanks for watching, guys. Hope this update helped, or at least sparked your own brain to come up with something groovy to try out this update. And check out my Twitch stream where I'll be live with more Dreadhunger matches. Keep an eye on this channel for more Dreadhunger related videos, including a full beginner's guide, which will be out very shortly. Good luck out in the Arctic, and watch out for Bongo and his 2 new twins.